Welcome to another episode of Ray.
No.
Hey, today we're going to talk about something really, I think this is one of the most important topics we're going to bring up this year. I think it's something that people need to know about. What do you think? What do you think in regards to this topic?
It's definitely something that I've discussed a lot in the past with the advantages and disadvantages of it. And I feel like when it is sold to people, it sounds like a great idea initially. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So let's not keep the audience waiting. What are we going to talk about today?
Solar panels. Should you get it?
Solar panels. Should you get them?
Are they worth the price?
Absolutely. Or are they worth even getting?
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So we'll start with you, Nev. So give me the advantages. Give me the advantages of why I should buy solar panels.
The advantages of solar panels are like super simple to find out. They're super straightforward. It reduces your energy bill.
Okay.
You're saving the planet with waste, and then also something else that you're guarding yourself against rising prices of electrical bills.
Yeah.
So it's kind of making you what's the word? It's giving you autonomy of that right there.
Well, think about it.
You're almost off grid.
One of the things you have to understand too, what happens is when most people, let's say 50% of the communities get solar, right? Let's say 50% of a community gets solar. What does that do to the electrical company? I mean, in most cases,
it's putting them out of business for that 50% of the population.
So what do you think they're going to do to the 50 that? So 50% of them are on solar and are solar dependent, and then the other 50 is not solar dependent. What do you think they're going to do to the 50 that are still using the power company?
At the end of the day, the power company is a company
and a
business, and revenue matters. So they can't allow their dollar stream to go down just because less people are using the product. So it's going to become more expensive.
So they'll make it more expensive. And that's a problem because what's happening is more people are going to solar. But what we're going to talk about today is why is it a disadvantage to go to solar as a real estate transaction? What problems it could bring to a real estate transactions? And obviously, we're also going to talk about the cost of the panel. So without further ado, one of the things that we're going to be discussing is, and we'll touch on this first, the cons. What are the cons?
The cons of it. Actually, I want to get back to this, to the advantage of it.
We have more advantage.
There's one more advantage, and this one's a little bit different. So, advantage of it, we're in Florida.
Okay.
Hurricane season is a real season in Florida.
Okay.
Something that's common for most Floridians in Central Florida is we're gonna have power outages, right?
Okay.
So, solar panels. You spend the additional, 10, 15 grand for the battery pack.
Correct.
Now you don't have to worry about the power outages during the hurricanes.
Well,
let
me go ahead and throw a con at that. So if you get the battery pack, you're gonna spend about $10,000. If you get a really good one, maybe $20,000 additional to the panels, right? Mm-hmm. For $6,000 or maybe $5,000, you can get yourself a generator, fuel powered generator.
That's what I was thinking as well.
So it is.
Would you say it's better to just go get that propane power generator compared to getting?
If you get a propane power, so this is the interesting thing. So if you go through Tico Gas, right? If you go through Tico Gas and you get the generator, and you get what's called the underground propane tank, and that's just connected, the generator is ready to go. And then what most people are doing is they're connecting the generator and putting it in an encasing on the side of the house, and they flash it up. They put a nice fence around it, or they put like a nice house around it. So that way, with vents, so that it can air out because obviously it has gas.
Yeah.
So, but once that's set up, all they have to do is go into the house and just flip the switch.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing with the solar panel. When you have the solar panel battery pack that sucks up the energy that's not being used as backup. When you have that in place, it's worth it. But this is the thing: if I was to sell my house today and I had that system, the generator system in my house, and you were to sell your house today and you had the solar panels with the battery pack, you may have a lease or a payment, and I have nothing. I paid for it cash because it's cheaper. I can do it that way, right? And nobody's gonna ever lend you on a generator.
Yeah.
That's not a financial thing unless you put it on your credit card.
Yeah, you go get like a Home Depot credit card.
Exactly. So that being said, I can sell my house where you might have issues selling yours. So that's one of the things that I look at.
Okay, so the cons of it is it's going to make it harder to translate in a real estate sale, to transfer in a real estate sale?
Well, in a couple of last transactions that I've seen where this has been difficult, it happens to be because of the financial company.
Okay.
So the companies that are out there that some of these banks don't have what's called a PACE designation,
Mhm.
and without that designation, transferability is not available. So what happens? So let's say I have a house and I have panels,
Mhm.
right? And I owe $20,000 on those panels.
Mhm.
All right. Most lenders will not lend on those panels, right?
Oh, okay.
And what happens is it's very hard to get financing for those panels because of the fact that you may not qualify with the purchase of the home
Okay.
plus the purchase of the panels.
So not to cut you off, so that it makes sense in the scenario that I dealt with then, where the homeowners had the panels, they weren't paid off, and when the home was appraised, they didn't include the panels in the appraised value. So they act like the panels weren't really there. Even though they were. So the price of the house was just the house, excluding, and the price of the panels, that's something completely different.
Yeah, so
dealt with on a separate
basis.
Yeah.
And let me explain. And that's great that you bring that up. And what happened was I spoke to several appraisers, and that's exactly what they said. They said that if the panels are not paid off, it doesn't include value to your house. Now, let me read you something that's really crazy, right? So Zillow, our favorite company, Zillow, who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, excuse my French, Zillow estimates that this increases your home value at 4.1%, which means that it's more than $16,400 on a home worth $400,000. Now, that is only, and they don't say it in this article, if the panels are paid off.
Yeah.
If you owe on the panels, they will not include it in the value of the home because you do not own it.
And then they also said 4%, which is $16,000 if the sale of the house is $400,000 or more.
Correct.
Now we have to kind of take into consideration that the average price of panels are about $16,000.
Yeah.
But the average sales price of a house is, we're in our 382.
Yeah, that's where we're at right now. So we're almost at 4 right now.
We're almost at 4.
We were at 308. We were at 305 last year.
Where I'm getting at with that is the fact that if you're spending $16,000 on panels and your house is going to sell for $250,000, that 4% is only going to be $8,000.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really not a benefit. There is no benefit to it, except for the fact that it's actually a selling feature, saying, "Hey, look, I don't have an electric bill."
Yeah.
That's pretty much what
So
it
it benefits the new buyer.
Correct.
So then what about the old buyer? The seller?
Zero incentive. Zero at that point.
What do they get when they sell the house?
A nice parting gift? I don't know. They don't get anything. They get a hello, you just got screwed kind of thing. That's what they get. Because this is the thing. The average solar panel in the United States is selling between $16,000 and $20,000. All right? Before deducting the 26% federal solar investment tax credit that you're entitled to when installing solar panels on your home or business. This works out to $2.60 or up to $3.35 per kilowatts of solar installed. All right?
Per watt?
Per watt. I'm sorry, not kilowatts, per watt. However, once you take the federal solar tax credit into account, the overall cost drops to $11,000 on a $16,000 panel, $16,000 panel, to $14,800 on a $14,800 panel.
Yeah.
That's almost 80% lower than the cost of solar 10 years ago. Okay.
Of course. And you know what's funny? That's something that I bring up as well, where we're not technology-wise, we're not in a place to have solar panels to be the most economical thing. When every 5 years the price of them drop pretty low, like it drops dramatically.
Correct. So that's exactly what it's saying here. 10 years ago, they were 80% more expensive. So the value is, they're not holding value. So somebody that had panels 10 years ago, either the panel is obsolete because of the technology, the panel doesn't work because it's burned out, okay? Or the panel doesn't even exist anymore because it's already been removed and replaced. Because that's what most of these solar companies are doing, is they're going out and they're, the way that they continue to make money is that they will continue to renew that energy. So these panels are not there to last forever.
Mm-hmm.
They last for a certain amount of time, and that's why a lot of these companies are actually leasing rather than selling, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge problem. Now check this out. In fact, in most areas, electrical bill savings pay off your solar in just 4 to 8 years, okay? So for somebody that buys a home, the 4 to 8 year situation, it's a problem because what happens is if you decide to move within 4 years, your panels are not paid off yet. That's a problem. Now, check this out. So let's continue to read this. So it says, It is still not cheap, but this price drop means that the PV solar panels now represent an excellent investment for many homeowners with a suitable roof. All right, so let's talk about that. Suitable roof. One of the biggest things that you're going to see with solar panels is that what's going to happen is if you put solar panels on a tiled roof, which is the ceramic tile, when you take those panels off, if you have to, you're going to leave major holes. You're going to have to retile that roof, okay? Which is super expensive, okay? Second thing is, if you don't do the regular solar panels, or let's say you don't have the ceramic tile, and you go into regular shingles, what it's doing, it's penetrating through your roof.
Yeah.
So now when they get removed, all those big bolts that are put in through the panel, all those holes have to be refilled, and then you have to reshingle. So most people, what they do is they put in a new roof because they might have to replace those panels. Because what happens is those holes can be filled in as best they can, but eventually, it rains in Florida a lot. We have hurricanes. That's an issue. Now, let's talk about hurricanes because you brought it up. I put panels on the roof, right? They're not put correctly, and there's no wind capture between the panel and the roof.
Yeah.
The panel can lift, which will then would create even worse damage to a roof than a roof with no panels.
Yeah.
So that's another issue. Now, that being said, my biggest problem that I see right now with panels is that prices in Florida are increasing so much that it's causing us to not be able to sell our homes, even though we want to, whether we want to upsize or downsize, because of the fact that I can't afford to pay off the panels and the buyer can't afford to take the loan on the panels because they can only afford the home because our prices are so high.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if it's they can't afford to pay off the panels, but I think it's more or less like, okay, I bought this house 5 years ago. I put these electrical panels. They cost me $20,000, right?
Correct.
I gained enough equity in this house to sell it, and I'm walking away with, let's say, hypothetically, $70,000.
Okay. I'm with
now we're at the next step. Have the house under contract with a new buyer. We try to see if we could transfer the lease from the solar panels to the new buyer.
Which is that's where the problem lies. That's where the problem.
We find out that we can't, which is something that we've both seen many times, where the lease just won't transfer for whatever reason. The new buyer won't qualify, which is crazy to me that they qualify for a house but not the solar panels.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's insane to me. I never.
Well, keep in mind what they're looking at is they're looking at that person's loan and they're trying to see why, what's causing that loan. Is the price on that loan going to be too high where they're not going to be able to afford the panel payment? And they take all of that into consideration, which makes it really hard for them to get approved by any solar panel company.
Okay, I see that. But and here I am, I'm a seller, have the solar panels, have a contract on my house. I have the potential to make $70,000 off the sale of this house after all fees, and then I get told that the new buyers can't get the lease of the solar panels.
Which just happened.
Just happened. So my options now are, if I want to sell this house, my net just instantly went down to $50,000 because my only option is I have to, out of my proceeds, pay for the solar panels, which still is not going to be included in the appraisal of the house.
Correct.
So
correct, because keep in mind you're paying it off after the sale.
Yeah, it's getting paid off after the sale. So
that's important to know.
So up until the closing day, I still own that solar panel, and it cannot be included in the appraisal.
And that's the thing. That's another thing that we wanted to obviously discuss is if you owe on your panels, you can't. If you owe on your panels, you can't include it in the appraisal. You can't tell the appraiser, hey, look, the panels are paid off. Or you can't even tell them, hey, I'm going to pay off the panels at closing. They're just not going to accept it. They're going to go ahead and say, you know what, we're not going to be allowing the value of the panels to be placed into the appraisal. And they'll put comments in there in regards to that, showing why they didn't give you value for the panels.
Yeah.
Now, in the situation where your panels are paid off, then it does add value, and that's the thing. So we wrote down some questions that we feel you should ask.
Before we actually move to that, let's do the math on that now. I bought these panels 10 years ago.
Okay.
They were 80% more expensive.
Yes.
So instead of $20,000 I spent upwards of almost $100,000 for these solar panels.
For the same solar panel. Crazy.
I paid them off in my 8 years. I sold the house. It only added 4% value to the house.
So you spent So let's do the math on this. So there's $100,000, right?
Yeah.
In panels. You bought the house for $100,000. It
Mhm.
went up to $200,000. So you add the 4% to that. That's $8,000.
Yeah.
So you made a whopping additional $8,000 for the $100,000 that you
So
invested.
really, I lost $92,000.
92% on your money. That's a great investment.
Man.
So I'm not saying, and we're not knocking any solar panel companies. Obviously, we're green in the sense that we want the world to go green. I think that there's more efficient ways to do it.
I just don't think. I agree with him. There's more efficient ways to do it. I just don't think that we're there technology-wise for solar panels. Once they become more, the price of them actually lower,
Yeah.
and the efficiency of them actually rise, then I feel like that's when we're in a good win.
Yeah.
50 years ago, cars were crap. All those cars are rusted out right now because they just weren't there yet.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, you have to think about right now. Look at Tesla. I use Tesla as the example of that. When Tesla first came out, they had to be pricey. The reason they had to be pricey is because most people couldn't afford, or Tesla didn't have the technology for most people to afford it. So it didn't go out to the general public. It went only to the wealthy.
Yeah.
You know, the average price of the first Tesla came out was what, $100,000, right?
Yeah.
That was the Model S. And the thing is, once the technology, they improved on the technology of Tesla, you know, give me a second. I'm gonna pause the broadcast real quick. I'll pause it. Oh, I thought I had it on.
Oh, you know why? They must have called multiple times. Who is that?
Ever.
They had to have called like 3 times because it goes through like the 3rd call.
Fuck, and I don't even know if I'm gonna have.
And still call.
Hang up. Let me send him a text.
What could this man possibly mean?
Bro, he's fucking driving me crazy.
He got his money, right?
Yeah, but we still have issues with this. So
what? I thought you had like an investor. Did that work?
it did, but we still have to get the other guy to sign.
Oh.